Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Grant Blasidell, businessman, entrepreneur based in London and here in Poland. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Mainly here, actually. I'd
here.
proudly like to say mainly in Warsaw.
Okay, well, it's a good location because if you take any business journal, whatever the size and color, you will find Poland is on top 10 of investment places in the world.
Yeah, I was having a small kind of debate with one of my co-founders the other day it started off with about comparing American market to Chinese market and is Chinese market a threat? And I wanted to get down like really what are these economies that have any sort of dynamic aspect for middle class, upper middle class. So your average millionaire. Right, not billionaire. I don't think billionaires are the best example because that's like a top. Poland's in top 5, I think, when it comes to annual growth rate of millionaires per capita. Right.
Okay, we wish that every of our viewers will be among that.
Well, it's actually it's actually a surprise. It's up there, tied with Vietnam, I believe. So Poland is growing millionaires at a rate that's the same, and I was in Vietnam recently, that's the same as, these emerging, very fast emerging developing economies. And Vietnam's truly one of the ones that is really doing it fast. So Poland has those aspects, and that's one reason why I firmly believe, less so in the market itself, but in polls.
Yeah, well, it happens only recently when we are topping this list, and it's kind of a surprise for most of the commentators over here. What are the reasons why we are on such a good position?
Well, you've had long enough time to where there's more people in the market that are not from the old economic model. I think you're seeing a bit of that. There's a bigger focus on entrepreneurship. Poles are naturally quite entrepreneurial and ambitious. So you're seeing that growth. The tech aspect is coming in, but I think there's also lots of challenges, and the question is who? When you're looking at who and how are these people gaining this wealth? Is it off true creation? What I like about Poland is it's still very much a small, medium enterprise economy, and I think that's extremely healthy sign.
Right, you have thousands, if not dozens of thousands of small companies that are growing, that want to grow, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen loads of them happen. The problem is like in the space that I'm in, and I've said this to ministers here in Poland before, is what is the advantage? Why should I register my company in Poland? You mentioned the guys in Brooklyn with the.
Yeah, that was the story about the grass cutting machine that are being produced in Poland, sold in the United States, and by creating their first establishment or company in the United States, the guys choose Brooklyn, New York.
Well, but
then they went to the farmer meeting somewhere in the Kentucky, and those farmers basically laughed when they saw that grass cutting machines made in Brooklyn.
But you know what I pulled out of that, though? What I pulled out of that story is you had 2 guys who are in Poland producing something in Poland, but they registered the company in the United States.
Right.
Which gives them their company is worth so much more just for that fact. Right, so these are some of the elements that, the Polish market is growing, but are we changing the framework and the playing field for people like myself or for ambitious entrepreneurs here on this market? Are we creating a good enough environment for them?
Right, well, Poland is in the European Union. This is 500 customers. We, what the recent governments are doing is to change the economy to the export base, and roughly 50% of our GDP is export right now.
Oh yeah, but export is one thing, but I have not yet met an entrepreneur in Poland who has had any sort of pleasant experience as far as growing the company here, registering the company here, the rules that exist for entrepreneurs and the companies here is not where it should be. And if Poland would change that approach, it could be more in the fields of how Singapore's and those entities have, even though they're not big economies, have been able to build a new set of wealth. there.
Right. So the digitization of companies, of administration, the moving most of the procedures to the cyberspace to make them smoother?
I mean, I know governments well enough to know that that's not going to be an easy thing to do. You have, you know, a massive, massive bureaucracy and incentive-based. You know, there's thousands of people making their monthly living off of it. So I'm not a utopian guy in that sense to where I think we're going to eliminate that. But I think certain steps can help. It's more about really, I'm a firm believer, at the end of the day, it's about culture. It's about cultural attitude. You know, we were talking a bit about the U.S. earlier and stuff, you know, why U.S. entrepreneurs can do what they do outside of market size, et cetera. It's culture and attitude. And if you have a cultural approach to the market and to economics and entrepreneurs like that, you change the government approach.
Well, music to my ears, because I've heard many times from the various venture capitalists that the idea you present is quite nice, but if it was real, Americans would have done it long time ago.
Are these Polish venture capital?
Yep.
They're not. Most of them aren't real venture capital.
That's
the other thing. They don't have the culture, right? They'll, you know, I mentioned on it when we were talking earlier is you know, kind of these differences in markets, and why, for example, why Polish startups, quote unquote Polish startups, I don't think have been as successful globally as they should, even over little countries like Estonia or what Sweden's been able to do.
Israel.
Is because of how the investors are here and approach things here, which is take your leg right away, so that if you want to run around the globe, you got to hop on one leg. And that's kind of the attitude around it. So I don't feel most VCs in Europe generally have the cultural approach necessary to build kind of a high, fast-growing tech company.
Right. But anyway, well, we started from this scores that are putting Poland on the top of the list of the best investment in Poland. And, well, I wish personally that trend to continue. So what should we look for in order not to break that?
What are those investments? Do you know what how those investments are divvied? Because in my space, more of those investors from the West are looking at Lithuania and Estonia as opposed to Poland.
Because of the rules and the easy command with...
Well, also, here's a very big thing, PR. Poland is not very good at PR internationally.
That's true.
So we don't really know how to sell ourselves. And this relates, it's cultural. It relates back to the entrepreneurs. One of the biggest thing I've seen differences between, you know, like an American entrepreneur, Polish one is, you know, the investor will say, okay, tell me about yourself. And Jan will talk about what college he went to and that's it. Or who he worked for and that's it. But that has nothing to do with who he is.
Right.
So we got to be louder. Also, we have to fight smartly against the image of what Poland is being built internationally, because that doesn't help business either.
Right. Well, that's the place where we are doing that on a daily basis. Maybe with a little success right now, but we are persistent. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Grant Blasidell was our guest tonight, and that was it for Poland Daily Business.